Barbarian, how's it going? Like, what's your Bittensor origin story? I heard it's very interesting. And, why Mantis? How did you end up with Mantis?
The origin story here is certainly quite interesting and quite coincidental, actually. At the time, myself and my family were living in Costa Rica. We were living in the southern part of Costa Rica in a very isolated part of the world. And so at this particular time, which is one of the funniest parts of the stories, quite frankly, and one of the parts that I've sort of told most people, which is that we actually did not have any home internet or cell service at that time at our home. And so that is sort of the first most important background piece for the rest of the story. So me and my family, we went around sort of local like cafes to do work such as downloading ebooks, etc. And so while we were doing this, we stumbled into someone who was working with Bittensor. My mother and them go into sort of had a conversation, and he noted that he was mining something which was very profitable. And so I myself had mined Ethereum before using a gaming laptop to sort of pay it back. And we kind of decided we were going to go and attempt that. And within a couple weeks, that was most of what we were doing. And we realized sort of the amount of potential in mining Bittensor. At that time, were you involved in Bittensor back then? Back in what was it, like October?
No, I snuck in like a year ago.
Yeah. So at that point, Bittensor was incredibly different, as people will there know. Mining was a much simpler process than it is now on all subnets. But although in some ways it was a harder process, at the time, the documentation for Bittensor was very sparse, and sort of the assumption that everyone involved in the project was like a core contributor who read the code base. At that point, I actually did not know how to code, nor even how to operate a computer via a command line, for example. And at that time, tools such as even the most basic, like ChatGPT, etc., did not exist, to be clear. So, yeah,
that's crazy.
That's like the start of the origin story. That's the start.
Okay, cool. Let's bring them up a bit. So, how did you go from noob, no command line experience to I think at some point you pwned them on subnet 8 to Mantis. How did we get there?
Did you say that again?
How did we get from noob, not understanding how to use the terminal, to subnet 8 dominance to Mantis? How did that evolve?
So sort of the mining story, definitely there was a lot of success before subnet 8. Of course, obviously on subnet 8, that was a time when the communication with subnet owners was greater, and where the level of sort of, for not sure exactly how long, maybe 2 months, the level of sort of domination on that network was incredibly high. Generally in the initial months, sort of I had sort of attempting things, but for something like Mantis, actually, it did come via subnetwork 8. We were building prediction models for Bitcoin 8 hours in the future back then. So it was doing regression, and it was scored based on RMSE. So the goal was to create models which would have lower RMSE in predicting the next 8 hours of Bitcoin price movement. Someone's saying they cannot hear anything. Let me know if that's a recurrent problem.
It's probably their side.
To user Greg
Hello, can you hear me?
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I haven't used this microphone in the past at any point. So
no, I think if you have problems hearing, log out and log back in. We can hear you. It's probably an issue in your end. Cool. Okay, so now we know the origin stories of the man, the legend that is Barbarian. Do you want to let's take us through your slides? Like, let's really dive into the meat of Mantis.
Okay, 1 second. Let me actually send you the link to the slides because.
Okay, I have them already. Let me share.
Okay, it's just like on a little web server here. Actually, I was sort of invited to the this novelty search on the 12th, yeah. But I didn't actually see the message until about the 17th. And so this was kind of all put together in the last 12 hours or so. So we can sort of keep that in mind when looking at this.
You'll be okay. Cool. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, so let's start here. So the goal of Mantis as a project, the initial goal is to select a number of time series which are valuable to predict and which have high numbers of samples such that miners can be accurately evaluated on them, and such that Sybil mining, I'm just going to call it Sybil mining here, which is the practice of sort of registering a volume of UIDs with some kind of a model which does not have long-term performance above a baseline 50% in hopes of getting lucky and actually earning profit. So on many different prediction subnets, this sort of Sybil mining has been a very effective tactic. In fact, on most prediction subnets historically, this has been the most effective tactic, to be clear.
Cool.
So the goal of Mantis is to overcome that, to select a number of time series which do not have that problem, in which if you have a high degree of accuracy in predicting them, you can earn lots of profit. That's sort of the initial goal.
Okay.
And so the methodology towards that goal next is to train network-wide ensemble models from miner outputs. And so we can go sort of to page right there to snapshot 11, theoretical results simulation, just to get some idea. So this right here, the chart is a situation with an average return of 52.5% on random binary prediction over a time period. And so when you have like a best of case selection here, you're gonna get these. So this chart here just is sort of an illustration of best case scenario. So the best case scenario in this case is you don't have any Sybil miners. All miners are providing performance. And most importantly, which is the most divergent from real circumstances, is that in this simulation here, the indices in which are given.
Wait. So you're throwing a lot at everyone, and I think it's important to carry everyone along. Do you want to break down what each of these lines mean, like hybrid ensemble, best of K? What is the baseline Briar? What's the Briar?
Okay, so Briar here is the chart is going up. So just to write it in the chat.
I'd advise to just ignore the chat for now and try like explaining it. Otherwise, your mind might be split across two different.
So just to be clear, this here illustrates a scenario in which you have a binary prediction task just on sort of noise. And you have a list of features with 52.5% average accuracy, average binary accuracy. So they're just outputting
so like a binary, walk.
Not log probs, not anything, just a binary, -1 or 1. Yeah. And so this compares the accuracy of what's a binary prediction task? A binary prediction task is a task is predicting whether something is one of two things. So -1 or 1, 0, 1, two classes, etc. Just to explain that to the chat here. In this case, what we're referencing is after a given period of time, will the price of an asset increase or decrease? And so just to quickly outline why we selected this as our task initially, it's because the sort of figuring out a miner's contribution to a network on this kind of a task is the easiest of sort of any type of data. It's the easiest to measure, etc. It is not, however, necessarily the most profitable. That there are a number of different loss functions that we will be introducing, which, when optimized highly, are more profitable. Okay, so one moment. So what this is illustrating is that as you get more of these predictors with low individual predict accuracy, your model of the underlying dynamics of a given function much stronger. So yeah, so okay, let's go back to slide number 2. This was just sort of mature.
Good detail. We'll be back.
We'll be back on that in the future. That's sort of going too far into detail too quickly. So let's go to progress. Let's go one step forward, just sort of. Yes, so this is just, now let's go to what is Mantis, just briefly. And then let's go to methodology high level. Redundant here. So how we do miner communication is that miners upload time lock encrypted embeddings. So they upload the ciphertext and the round to an O2 bucket. They make that public, that file, and they commit it to the chain. So in the ciphertext, it decrypts to a list of the embeddings for that given timestamp, as well as the hotkey that it is associated with. Validators fetch that URL after a period of time, this time 300 blocks. They decrypt it, they validate it. And so the method that we're currently using as an ensemble is to train logistic regression models on each individual miner, and then feed the outputs of those logistic regressions into an XGBoost model. Okay. So that's the current method. And then we permute each selected miner's validation logics. So let's go to the code overview briefly, just to touch on that. We have only 5 major files: a ledger, model, validator, cycle, and config. That's it. It's 1.4K lines of code, actually. Incredibly small code base, incredibly sort of efficient.
Did Const have a hand in this? Because he fetishized
Yes, he did.
over.
Yes, he did.
I fucking knew it. I was reading the code today, like,
Yes,
this is
yes, yes, he did, and it, with the communications model, he suggested sort of not using the axon, for example. Yes,
yeah,
like
yeah,
it's as pared down as it can get. And actually, initially when I built it, it was far too pared down. It led to stability issues, and it sort of bloated in the code base for about a month or so, and now it's back to a nicer state again.
Cool.
Okay.
So carry on. You were saying.
So information gain as reward. Let's go one more here. So we assign reward based on the percentage degradation of performance of the XGBoost model when we randomize a given miner's logits. So if a miner, for example, when removed, degrades performance by, say, 10%, that miner will generally have about 10% emissions for that challenge/asset.
Okay, so let's walk that back. The way you score people is you say, okay, right now with the miners inputs, it's 50%. If we take that miners signal out, it becomes 40%. So therefore, that miner has 20% of the action. Is that right?
No. So like say we have a say we have 55% accuracy, just as a slightly better example, and the and if we remove a given miner, it degrades it to 45.5%. That would be about 10% emission for that challenge, generally speaking. I say generally speaking because sometimes, yeah. And sometimes okay. Yeah, it's sort of one of the nicer aspects of it. It's directly tied to the contribution to the network model, since that's ultimately what we're working on optimizing. We're not necessarily, we're looking to get the best net outputs out of the network. So train, select, evaluating. So this is going over the loop. So lag is blocks ahead. Let me just make sure this is a recency decay here. Yep, this is all correct. This website was partly written with AI, unlike the actual Mantis code base currently, obviously, since it was put together in such a short time frame, and obviously reviewed by me. So I'm just making sure this is 100% correct here. So this is just an overview of the training and evaluation process. So for each miner, you fit a logistic regression model, one that outputs the targets from the embeddings. So the reason why we have to do this, and we don't actually just directly feed the network outputs into the regression model, into the XGBoost model, is that initially at the very start of this, the first challenge, we added in an embedding dimension of 100 for Bitcoin, which actually has caused quite a few problems with
Yes. So I was looking at that earlier, and I was like, it's still like in the code base, it's still 100 dimensions for Bitcoin and 2 for Ethereum. How do you
for everything else?
Yeah, why? Why is Bitcoin so?
It was 100 for it was 100 for Bitcoin because initially I was expecting miners to potentially submit more complex features. For example, you could submit a Fourier transform of the last n, time frames, of the last n, timestamps and minutes. And so what I realized was that that's an incredibly inefficient way to do things, and that it's very preferable to simply have miners submitting their signals from a final output model, and that just makes everything much cleaner. You can reduce immunity periods like that. You're not going to see a direct improvement from sort of raw foundational features like different custom indicators, etc., in a couple of days, which is what you have to do on Bittensor. You can't let the model train for, say, 30 days before giving some kind of an evaluation.
Okay, so how long? So given this, how long do you think miners are training their models for to make it useful for these generating these signals?
Well, you mean on their end?
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends. I think it's less about how long you're training a model. Generally, the process is more to look, and actually most of the, like, in my own experience, the best models at this task have an accuracy of about between 58 and 62%. I'm at this point not running models on the network, and that's sort of the best that I've got. And the process is actually different. You sort of look through the data, you find some kind of potential inefficiencies, and you work from there. You're not like going through and like you're not going through and you're not going through and training a massive model on the task, generally speaking. You might train a small machine learning interpreter on your individual models, for example. But yeah.
Cool.
You're not training giant foundation models generally.
Okay.
Let's just go to
we're not in Oklahoma anymore. This is far away from home for us, but it's pretty interesting. Cool. Do you want to go to the next slide, or are you still on this?
Sure. Let's go to slide number 10 here, because 9 is just.
So this is. I find this pretty interesting, at least from like working on the chain and like understanding a bit about this time lock. And I also remember that one of the issues they had with the previous prediction subnets was the issue of like alpha
relay
decay.
mining.
Relay mining. So this prevents relay mining. Okay.
This prevents relay mining.
Yeah.
Because that's been a problem on every prediction subnet. That will inherently be a problem.
So talk us through it.
On any prediction subnet, that would be a problem. We use DRAND right now for the time lock, so nobody can decrypt it, including us, until the period is passed.
Cool.
Yeah.
And how effective are you finding it? How effective is it?
Well, from what I can see, there's no indication that any type of relay mining is going on the subnet. Of any hotkeys with emissions, I haven't found any that have sort of copies of other hotkeys, for example, other than ones just submitting, zeros or ones or the like. So let's collect encrypted payloads, prices, weight the horizon, decrypt and validate, train and score, normalize and set weights on chain. Validator cycle.py, ledger.py to model.py. So then there's 11, which we've already seen. Now let's go to 12. This is quite interesting. This is the performance in the last 10 days of the Ensemble on a validation held out set. A question by Fish. How? What are you asking? Precisely. So this is some performance data. This is whether the average is over the top miner by its logistic regressions performance, and people can look on that. No captions. I'm not aware. Okay, so let's go to page 13. People can look at that.
This is interesting. Like. Tell us how your miners have pwned you. Tell us how your miners have pwned you.
So a couple different ways. For one, they've submitted different payloads, which when decrypted turn into incredibly sized payloads. This has actually stopped, and there's a longer term fix in place, as it's something that you actually have to fix it long term. In this entire category of attack, you have to do the decryptions in a separate process. That, and just from what I've seen, at least on my own validator server, there was a typical DDoS, like over TCP and HTML. So it's over TCP. So let's go to 14, Sub-subnet, and this is actually the very interesting part.
What? Okay. I've got some questions in regards to this. When you say Sybil, we understand the relay mining, the T-lock fixes that. When you say Sybil resistant economics, how, like, can you explain, like, how does your system manage that? So if two signals are exactly the same, are they exactly the same?
If two signals are exactly the same, perfect question. So if two signals are exactly the same, even if those signals say 90% accuracy, something unheard of / impossible, it would not, if you permute either one's contributions, the signal would be represented in the network already. And that miner would not receive incentives. So if you have a very good model, it's in your best interest for that to be run on as few UIDs as possible.
Okay. And what if like they added like a bit of noise to it? How do you
what would be the same because the signal would be represented on the network. You'd remove that signal and it would degrade by a tiny bit. And like say the network was having 60% accuracy on a given challenge. Let's just say there was one forecasting task of only Bitcoin, and the baseline accuracy was 60%, and you begun submitting embeddings, which have an accuracy of 90%. So they're 90% correlated with Y-true, just incredibly simply. So if you were to run that after 5 days, sort of the network baseline becomes 90%. And if you have that on two different UIDs, remove one of them, and you know what the network baseline is? Still 90%. It hasn't changed, as that signal is already represented on a different UID. Yeah, even if you add a bit of,
that's really clever, because it goes back to like how you were saying, like how you decompose the performance to pick out each miner's attribute. I think that's pretty sweet.
Like, to go back here, and just to be clear, this is not like against any other subnets, and those teams have learned a tremendous amount since then. Actually, it was the opposite case economically on the original subnet 8, the time series prediction subnet, just as an example. So on the original time series prediction subnetwork, this is not whatsoever relevant to the current PTN, which is in a very nice state today. It was actually in your benefit to run the same model as many other miners as possible. Because when that model would have degraded performance, since the evaluation window was so short, your odds of a miner being deregistered would be lower, if that makes sense, if you had a large volume of miners already.
Yeah. I think that's a general theme that can be abstracted to almost every subnet in Bittensor. UID pressure bad, allows people to Sybil and
not even bad actors, just actors who are acting to maximize their returns, which is
that's UID pressure.
And contributing to the network, to be clear. Not Sybil in the sense here of running. So let's go to the sub-subnet discussion. That's something I'd like to get into.
This is pretty interesting. Constant shut up about sub-subnet. So let's see how you apply
listen, I'm calling it a sub-subnet. It's just a separate. So so you can read that. Ask any sort of questions.
Okay, so motivation. You're gonna have to dumb this down for us. You're gonna have to.
If you were to simulate sort of Gaussian noise, like returns, Gaussian randomly distributed, normally distributed returns, and you were to create a return series from those from that synthetic fake price series, and you were to have different synthetic signals which have a given accuracy on that. So you generate those signals by taking y true, flipping it a given percentage of the time. So you want 55, but you flip it 45% of the time. Not entirely randomly, but in a way that's correlated with the autocorrelation of returns. If you
lost you, Barbarian. I hope he comes back because I'm not explaining this to anyone. Let's get Barbarian back.
Is it possible to hear?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I went to close a tab and that's what tab closed here.
So carry on. You lost that Gaussian noise.
So that performance of differentiating that Gaussian noise from random embeddings in terms of the allocation of the salience scores generalizes over to real data. I've got a couple of models myself which are not actually represented on the network with pretty good accuracy on this particular task, so I can do tests on real data and sort of be sure that it's not overfed.
Okay, cool.
So just to be clear, so to give an example, at the start of Mantis, we trained a multi-layer perceptron and we retrained it for every UID we were removing. So we'd go remove that UID from the training data included, then we'd use this MLP. And we actually were not using any kind of fixed seed. And so in doing that, what that meant is that due to small variations in performance between runs, it was actually a highly profitable strategy to simply run as many miners as possible and to maximize exposure.
Okay, so how does the sub-subnet design help this? How does
go to next, because next is going more in detail to what the sub-subnet is doing. Let's go to next here. So just look at the daily dynamics here is important to look at. This here, I sort of had it formatted from a text file. So to elaborate, the first task is to take in historical data of the data log, so the prices, and to generate embeddings at time t. And the goal of this embedding generation strategy is to create embeddings that do not improve model performance long term. So with past data of this Gaussian noise, it's impossible to predict the future, right? You can't any edge over 50%, really, just due to the nature of the data generation. However, there are some strategies, like different methods of generating embeddings, which are more effective than others in terms of degrading model performance when used in conjunction with, as I like to say, sort of signal UIDs that are providing value to the network. So we incentivize miners to produce embeddings, first of all, in this controlled environment, to submit code that produces embeddings that degrade network model performance when in conjunction with the signal UIDs.
Okay, so I understand that. So does each sub-subnet represent a different asset? How do you reason about this topology?
We can already sort of say the network is doing that, but I kind of almost feel that the term, don't go forward yet, the term sub-subnet is almost like a gimmick a little bit. It's been possible on the protocol and since the quote-unquote Bittensor revolution. There's sort of not much new here. You can always run multiple validation algorithms on the same network, especially if you're doing your immunity periods in a way that is based on giving a small amount of incentive and not an actual immunity period hyperparameter on the chain.
Cool.
So going into more detail here, the evaluator consumes a stream of embeddings, not of embeddings, of timestamps of hotkeys and to embeddings, as well as the price for that timestamp, and returns after it's already ingested 5 days of this 1 minute at a time. Network log probabilities. Sorry, no. So it returns the network log probabilities each timestamp. So you can look at the communication as the validator sends in the current price and the current set of embeddings for that time step. It returns over log probabilities for the outcome or outcomes being predicted here. Then after 5 days, it additionally returns every one of these time steps. So after it's ingested 5 days worth of synthetic data, the saliences. I'll go to the next page at this point. And the rewards will be a function of the salience accuracy, as in so if we have the 16th synthetic signals here, and these signals are auto-correlated with returns in the same way that the returns are auto-correlated to one another. Signal accuracy would be how equally among those 16 it's split. So if all of it is going to 1, that is not a very good outcome. So the rewards are a function of the accuracy of the saliences, the accuracy of the meta model, so how well it learns from those synthetic signal UIDs, multiplied by the fraction of the salience that is not leaked to the adversarial submitters.
Wait, how do you, sorry, you lost me. What do you mean not leaked? How do you measure leakage?
Like the percentage of emissions given to the UIDs that are not providing any signal to the network, the adversarial strategies from before.
Okay, cool. Okay.
So trying to minimize emissions being given to entities not benefiting the network, not benefiting network performance. I think this is really interesting, as it's kind of trying to optimize the optimization of the validation mechanism itself, since it can be represented as a machine learning task. And so those daily dynamics are what we're currently running on the test net. I'm running myself and sort of looking at just to sort of realistically simulate what you'd get on the actual network. So let's go to next here. So this is just the basic mining workflow. And then let's go one more. This is just sort of a.
You tried to do a mermaid background.
Yeah,
it should have done a mermaid.
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. Let's go one.
Yeah,
more.
let's skip this.
Hey, it's an attempt. So this is actually one of the most important points here, which is that going forward, we will be at inference. We will be moving from a public DRAND randomness server over to a server which we control. And so what that means is that as soon as embeddings come in, while they're still encrypted and undecryptable by all entities other than us, we can decrypt them, inference the meta model, get a prediction, or get the predictions for all of the challenges, and write those results encrypted to the Solana blockchain. And then after we, sort of have a few weeks of data on that, all of the all of the performance data will be verifiable and will be able to be verified that it was not sort of influenced by any data leakage or other inflation of performance.
Cool. Why Solana?
I chose Solana because it's very fast and because the fees are low. I was going to do it on Bitcoin, but unless you use open timestamps, which adds in another layer of complexity, you'd have like 10 minutes of ambiguity in terms of when something was written, since you could only really on a blockchain level say what block it was written at.
Cool. Really
okay,
excited.
And so this is just a little calculator of potential profits at any. The fee per trade here, you should set that at 0.2% because that's kind of accurate. If you had 98% accuracy.
Yeah.
So this is the average hourly.
Are you doubting Bittensor miners? Are you saying they can't get to 98%?
We'll see. Cool. No, so
wow.
Of course the subnet is only a function of the miners. If we had the best quantitative model developers in the world, it almost, the level of what model we'd need would be incredibly low. Really, the difficulty in model design is directly correlated with how much noise is in the pool of miners.
Okay. So this is pretty interesting. I think the prediction on financing subnets are some things I know very little about. So it was actually fun reading your code and trying to understand what's going on. Now, with regards to things like ensembles, is there like a maximum number or an optimal number of miners, or it doesn't matter? It's like embarrassingly scalable. Like you could just have 1,000 ensemble and it just works well.
Well, you have to keep in mind how many samples you need to determine whether a given miner whether a given miner's results are from luck or not. So if we doubled the number of UIDs and halved the registration prices, keep things like whatsoever economically on par with what they are now, we'd have to double the evaluation period, just for example. So there's that limit. And, I think with 256 UIDs, to be honest, like right now, out of those 256 UIDs, there are probably 20 or 30 legitimate miners that are providing signal, like legitimate mining hotkeys, and the rest are quite low quality.
So that's interesting because there's a feature that's going into Subtensor soon that allows you to prune your IDs. So it'll be interesting to see how you use these new tools to, sharpen the blade. Beware.
I'll tell you what's the one on-chain limitation, which would make everything easier, which is if you could specify registration rate more precisely on the chain level and mandate it to be, say, no more than 16 registrations per day or 24 registrations per day, etc. That would actually be very helpful. Because right now, as the subnet owner, you're not in control of those hyperparameters. And I know that that's because different entities have historically taken advantage of this.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, you can come and make your case in Open Dev or Church of Rao. Now, before we go to the crowd, it would be good to understand, okay, where do you see this going? Like, we have all these signals. How does Mantis, after we do all this, cool signal generations, where does it feed into? I was talking to Arash earlier, and, he says, it'll be possible to use trades from Mantis on Glitch. And how do you see things going? Tell the people out. I'm sure people at home are very curious.
Okay, so the first thing is when we have really good signals, which we can potentially start to say we have now, we'll definitely be able to say we have, whether or not we have in, say, a month. And once we start writing that, and anyone can verify that. So once you have those signals, monetizing them is not difficult whatsoever. If you have like a strategy which is netting, something crazy, 82% returns a month, right now that number though is inflated because actually a tremendous percentage of returns at this
hey, Barbarian, we don't want any bearishness. This is not inflated enough. It's not inflated enough. Yes.
Yeah, but once you have those signals, monetizing them is not difficult whatsoever. The arbitrage in opportunity for buyers is inherent. If you're effectively selling dollars for 90 cents, so to speak, if you do that.
Okay, yeah, I saw what you mean.
This is ridiculous, obviously, but yeah, I mean,
you lack imagination.
Once you have that kind of asset, it's easy to monetize it. And so you could monetize that initially via PTN, and I believe if we captured a large fraction of the returns, it would definitely exceed our expenditures on miners. That's an initial easy route to some profits. We could also, obviously, and this has been the plan, auction off these signals. So we'd set up an on-chain auction where the winner takes all for the next hour.
This is interesting. And now I finally get it, because the first thing would be like, okay, why would a quant not just trade his own book? But the argument is that the value of the signals from the ensemble is far greater than any of the individual quants. Is that right?
Actually, it's not necessarily that. It's that if you're someone who is, trying to make money, and if any of us, if you can get, say, 60% accurate binary return, predictions on any given asset, you can immediately make money. You can put money in and you can earn money. And at that time frame, within a week, you can tell whether the edge is gone or whether it's still there, and the risk of blowing up is very, very low. It's inherently valuable. You can start earning today with that kind of information. It's inherently valuable information to an extreme extent, maybe more so than any other kind of information.
Cool. This is pretty interesting. Cool. And my last question before we head to the crowd is why XG Boost? And is there any, are you why XG Boost? Are there other deeper learning algorithms or any other types of models that might lend themselves better to this?
Yes, I'm sure there are in the function space. XG Boost performs better than the models that we trialed, such as MLPs and linear regressions or logistic regressions. However, in the function space, I'm very confident that there are better methods of interpreting minor embeddings. I'm certain of it.
Okay, cool.
And on the subnet, we will hopefully find those.
We look forward to it. Okay, let's go to the crowd. Does anyone have interesting questions? What do you call your fan club, Barbarian? Well, what are your fans called? Are they called Barbarianites? Like, it's a crazy. I was just like doing some research. I ended up in a room with like 250 people that screaming Barbarian.
Like, what do you mean? What is this room?
Like Punisher? It's crazy. Like, you've got a lot of community momentum going, which is quite admirable, and I see it because you're someone that's like grown up in Bittensor. So you see Bittensor in its raw form, and you understand like very, very systematic issues we've had. And speaking to you is to see that wow, you can actually take lessons learned from your years in the mines and different subnets and produce something of value. So we look forward to it. Okay, I'm inviting Mac on stage. Mac,
come on up.
Yeah, come on up, Mac. Mac is Barbarian's co-founder.
No, that's
No, I'm just messing with him.
Literally, but
I tease him because honestly, the only reason why I know about Mantis is because Mac won't shut up about it. How do I invite people on stage? Hold on. How do I invite?
the thesis for Mantis is that Bittensor miners can produce valuable information, and that we can extract it. But really, that Bittensor miners can produce valuable information, and that we can select worthwhile targets to optimize on.
Okay, cool. I can't figure out how to invite Mac on stage. Anyways, special shout out to Mac. He's like him and Punisher are like crazy Mantis people. Okay, cool. Let's see. Do we have any questions from the crowd?
Let's see.
Okay. Adam. Hey, Barbarian. I'm genuinely interested in this, which I don't understand about price prediction. Let's say a miner's model gets better at predicting a given asset. Let's say 97% accuracy. Can you read this question, please? Hold on.
Yeah, I see the question. I think that the idea that miners will to capitalize on those signals, you need capital, obviously, and in many cases, a lot of it. So for example, if you're mining Bittensor, you could be earning, say, on Mantis, you could earn 30,000 a month. You could earn 60,000 a month, and if you say have only starting capital, maybe $5,000, $20,000, it's very unlikely that you can earn that much from those signals. In the case of, say, 95% accuracy, which is unheard of and something which no model has achieved, like, sort of in the history of documentation of the industry. No, it would be more profitable to continue using it to put it onto any network, in the same way that it would be more profitable to trade on it with your own money than to, say, work for a hedge fund or to work. It's the same question as why would someone go and work for Jane Street, for example. It's an arbitrage opportunity between their knowledge and their sort of lack of capital and ability to earn from that information.
Okay, I think we have a Barbarian Knight coming on stage. Is Mikolas?
Let's see here.
Sorry, guys.
Let me see. 1 second. If my clusters would like to come up on stage, let me see. I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing him in the audience.
I'm not seeing the option to invite people on stage.
Okay.
Mars, can you do this?
So someone's asking, when you run revenue search, there was a mention of Simon Mark giving you some capital to test with. Can you tell us how that went? So far, we have not done live trading on the signals, as we cannot decrypt them until after the time that they're meant to be predicting. So we have to switch over to that private time lock server before we're able to do real-time trading on the signals. Right now, we're collecting and training the network models, but the process of migration is incredibly quick. With how we're building things out, it'll just be the change of 2 hyperparameters, miners embedding submission logic.
Okay, cool. We're getting Mac on stage.
Excellent. Let's see.
Barbarian, did you want to hire a sales manager veteran to push your business forward while you keep on building?
Well, Kakashi's... at the moment, we're focused on building, and of course, the goal is not going to be to at any point sort of sell the token. The goal is going to be to sell the signals and distribute that to the holders. So at that point, if we start going to market, we may try to do some large scale marketing early on, or not, or simply work with large scale customers.
Invite to speak. Come on, Mac. Let's get Mac. Yes.
Mac is now a speaker. Excellent.
This is the biggest Mantis bull ever. He's bigger than the rest of the 200. Lovely to have you on stage, Mac.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I have no idea what am I doing here. I think I said it on X already that talking to Atlas or Barbarian is I'm still giving the same expression like how I watched the interview with Siam or Siam. But I've got one question though to Atlas. Like I've done some research about, let's say, signal engines, right? And I couldn't find any. To be honest, like it's very niche at the moment. And I found like BlackRock has done their own signal, let's say, mechanism for ages already. And how do you, let's say, because I know that this is a distributed signal, right? And it's self-optimizing. But
yes, it's like it's a mechanism to extract signal from miners and to sort of get the best outputs out of a given set of miners as possible. That is
absolutely, absolutely.
And if the miners can produce the quality outputs, and if we can select the proper targets, we can have. And no, there is not, to my knowledge, anyone else doing exactly this, any other project doing exactly this at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. I've done my research on that. It's actually really niche at the moment. What you're doing, and that's why I'm so much bullish on Mantis. I don't know, but you said 0.2 tau though.
What did you say? Yeah, it's something like if the price right now were like 0.2 tau, I believe I noted that I would burn, say, the majority of emissions so far, just given that I doubt it would increase miner quality to an extent that it would be worthwhile to have those kinds of emissions.
So practically speaking, is this something that you researched way in advance before you launched Mantis? Like, you know exactly this is not this product doesn't exist yet.
Yes,
so
I researched if there was like anything like this. Actually, also on the side of a potential miner at one point, looking into seeing is there any sort of network that pays out for providing high accuracy signals, and so the closest thing would be something like a prop firm, and that's not exactly what we're doing, and that is something that is not similar to what Mantis is doing really. So that's like the closest thing that exists at scale is a prop firm.
Yeah, I noticed that, and most of the big firms are keeping it close, right? They don't.
They have like probably internal models of these sorts, sort of between the different predictive models of their employees. That's what I've heard from. Yeah, that's what I can gather. Not like
I think
open.
I've said enough. I'm bullish in the long term. I think we are gonna be. Yeah, we are gonna be able to stake our alpha soon, right?
Yes. To different not necessarily stake it, but use it to vote on the different challenges. So far, I haven't seen that as being beneficial, but as we expand a larger pool, which we'll be doing starting to do over this week, starting to do probability distributions of outputs in terms of percentage, like odds that in the next hour it increases 1%. Will become more valuable.
So one sec. I think we're diving a bit too much in the weeds and want to carry people along. What is someone's asking, what is the why wouldn't you consider Numerai similar? Now Numerai, I've been in blockchains for a very long time, and Numerai probably started when I joined blockchain. So how is your solution different from Numerai?
Numerai is taking a feature set and effectively optimizing model architecture and training hyperparameters, within a. It is similar in the sense that they're using a network of contributors to predict some future events, but that's kind of, in terms of the actual architecture, they're very, very different. And I believe that we can obviously coexist with Numerai.
Okay, but do they have so what is the edge you have over Numerai? Is it the alpha? Is it the leakage function, Or like what makes Mantis
I'd say that the edge probably would be something to the effect that, especially as we continue to refine the salience function, any signal which improves the network model will be rewarded relatively swiftly.
Yeah,
so any information. That's not really the case on Numerai. Like, even if you have some models say it predicts 53% accuracy, it's not a great model. You could add it to Mantis and you could get some degree of predictable rewards from it. That's sort of
so I think wait, Barbarian, I think you really need to emphasize this because you gloss over it. But when I saw it, I was like, wow. Because you see, in Bittensor, the incentive mechanism, how you reward, how you attribute is everything.
Yes, it's everything. It's everything. If we were, for example, let me just give you an example of like the most simplistic loss function for this kind of a task, which would be in the last 24 hours, what percentage of your predictions have been correct, yes or no? That's like the most simplest. If that's sort of a model, you would never get anywhere. You could have some of the best miners in the world, you wouldn't get anywhere. You know, the incentive function is everything.
Yeah, exactly. And so I've been around, built a couple of subnets. The hardest thing to do on subnets is to tie miner inputs to reward. It is crazy difficult. And the fact that Mantis can do this to such a high resolution is pretty mind-blowing. Like, hats off. Like,
so let's be clear. Right now, the resolution is not exactly where we'd like it to be. Right now, to get rewards on Mantis, you need signals that are in the accuracy of 53 to 55%. In my testing, that's kind of what you need in average between assets to get really good rewards. So to be clear, it's not precisely where we want it to be. We'd like it to be any edge over randomness can be rewarded. Even just a minuscule edge. That's where.
Okay.
And we can get it to that state. It is theoretically possible.
Well, we're rooting for you. Keep sharpening that blade. Okay. Let's see. Are there any more questions? BlackRock, Aladdin.
Yes, there is a question also here on the on any updates on subnet 125 here, and I'm just going to note what we're doing there, which is that on 125, what I've got going on a sort of a test net is that we are taking prediction markets for future financial events. Say, what's the price of Bitcoin at the end of the year? What's the price of Bitcoin in a month? Things that we couldn't do on Mantis because we don't have enough volume of signals. We are incentivizing miners to provide liquidity in times of high volatility for these tasks. So that needs a lot of testing because it has contracts on Ethereum and Arbitrum. And it, any of those contracts, there are possibilities of that getting hacked, etc. You need very high security standards for that, higher than almost any other type of subnet.
I see. Yeah. That's so
good news is that Polymarket has and the other markets have public contracts for prediction markets and how those are structured. So there's sort of a existing idea of what that looks like and to compare it to, and to just make sure that you're not going to run into some kind of overflow or other very basic type of vulnerability.
Yep. Definitely. Anyways, okay, any more questions? Let me see. The real differentiator. Yeah, I agree. So they want to know is like feral vision.
Let's see here. But the generation of signals across different financial instruments. So yes, the alpha is in the incentive mechanism, and the alpha is in the miner quality, and the alpha is in the selection of targets, the selection of high quality assets and of high quality targets within those assets. If we were forecasting, say, price change after 5 minutes, that would not be a good target for many different reasons. For example, we're saying 5 days, that would be impossible to accurately incentivize. I think it's important to clarify what we cannot do and what is, to my knowledge, undoable within a design like this, to better illustrate what we do best.
Okay, that's all, folks. It's been an amazing evening. Mantis, so there's a couple of them. Fish, and Mantis. These are people that have only ever known Bittensor. and it makes them
Yes,
very. Sorry?
And just to mention another thing that is an incredible historic moment for Bittensor today, the $3 million burn on subnet 51. That is something incredible, and that is something that hopefully.
What do you mean? Sorry, can you explain that?
I saw that on subnet 51 they burned like $3 million of their alpha or something crazy like that. See that Celium is by far right now the most profitable subnet that is currently operating.
Yep, Celium is killing it.
Point that out as sort of another
Fish,
incredible.
Hold on, Fish wants to come on stage. That's always interesting.
Oh well, Fish wants to speak.
Yeah. Hold on, how do I invite him? I don't know how to do this. No, he's on stage. Like, what do I invite sent? So what do we do?
Let's see. Okay, thank you.
You invited him. Okay, Fish, get on stage.
Not sure if that was revenue or minor emissions. If it was minor.
Okay, he can't speak right now. Okay, this is not about 51. We'll get Fish on stage soon. Everyone, thank you very much. Barbarian, I am getting a tattoo of your face on my arm. I'm a fan now, and hopefully we speak soon. Thank you guys, and look forward to the next time.